Welcome to Renovate Ed, where we talk about all things home and renovation related. Hosted by Jennifer Goldsby, a renovation lending expert. Let's get renovated.
Some time ago, I got an email from Trent Paino with Housemaster, Heartland Housemaster, and it outlined some bullet points of what a seller would need to know if they're selling their home. I thought it was such great information. I have Trent's permission to share it with you, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. The information is mostly geared towards preparing for a home inspection, which most buyers are going to do. What I had never given any thought to is the seller side of the transaction. I work in financing. I'm always working with buyers, not sellers. So, of course, I know what the buyer's side looks like when they're going through a home inspection, but I'm not a real estate agent. I work in finance. I never really gave any consideration to what a seller would have to do to prepare for a home inspection. I thought it was great information, so I'm going to share it with you guys in case you are selling a home, so your buyer's home inspection will go as smoothly as possible and they can get the best and most accurate inspection findings as possible. So some of the things that were suggested is to clear the path for the home inspector. They need access to the electrical panel. Move items away so that they can clearly and easily remove the cover to that electrical panel. Can they get to the furnace? Can the panels be removed from the furnace and the filter without having to move anything around to get there? And quick tip here, install a clean filter. Go ahead and do that since you know somebody's going to be looking at it. Put a clean filter in there so they don't say anything about it on the home inspection. Can the inspector get access to the attic? Is there a clear path? Can they get to the crawl space? Is the crawl space access door hidden or is it locked? I've actually had that happen before on transactions where we couldn't move forward because the door was locked to the crawl space. And not only could the inspector not get in there, but the appraiser couldn't get in there either. So for those of you who don't know, an appraiser has to have head and shoulders access to the attic and they need to be able to see in the crawl space. So make sure both of those areas are accessible to the inspector. Or is the door, is it hidden to the crawl space? Is it under carpeting or is there a step that's hiding it? Be sure that you communicate where the access is and give them easy access to that crawl space and or that attic. Can they see all the drains and pipes? Are the cabinets underneath, say, the kitchen or bathroom sinks, are they cleared of items enough that an inspector can go in there and see everything that's under there and inspect that area? Is the garage floor visible? Here's a tip I didn't think about. If you've got a car in the driveway or in the garage, pull them out so the inspector can easily see the garage floor and or the driveway. So that's a little bit about access. What about things that the inspector is going to be turning on and off so they can make sure that it works? Some of those things will include programmable thermostats. If you need, leave instructions or turn off any kind of pre-set program that you have so the inspector can work with the thermostat. What about fixtures? They're going to be looking to make sure that all the fixtures are working. So if you've got any burnt out light bulbs, go ahead and replace those. If a light doesn't come on when an inspector is looking at it, he or she is going to assume that it's broken. So it's best to replace any burnt out bulbs. Does the switch work? If there's, this was such a fun thing that my parents did recently. They sold their house and they had heard this tip and they did it and the buyers really appreciated this. They noticed it on their final walkthrough the day of closing, so they were able to tell my parents at the closing table, we're really happy that you did this. If you have some weird switches, light switches, and somebody who doesn't live there wouldn't readily know what that switch is for, put a little Post-it note on that. Any of those unusual switches, let them know what it's for. And that way, if you're not using it or if it's not readily apparent and they flip it on and off and nothing happens, then at least the inspector will know, okay, this is for this purpose and nothing is plugged in. So in my house, when you walk in, there are switches that would turn on a lamp if a lamp is plugged in, but I don't use all of those. I don't really use a lot of lamps. So when you flip those switches in my house, nothing happens. Put a little Post-it there, let the inspector know what that's for, and that way there won't be any question about what that particular light switch is for. Gas fireplaces, have the pilot lit and a key available. Not an active fire on inspection day, but just make sure that it turns on. If you have anything stored in your oven, you're going to want to remove those items. I know some folks will put some dishes or pots and pans in there. The inspector is going to turn the oven on, so make sure you clear out that oven. That way nothing gets burned or melted when he's looking at that oven, and he doesn't have to go in there and remove things because that's not their job. They're not going to do that. So you might want to just relocate those stored items to another place. The dishwasher will be turned on and run during an inspection, so add soap if you want them to run through a cycle, clean any dishes that are in there, maybe add some soap. And what about things that need to be opened? An inspector is going to make sure that anything that opens and closes is functioning properly. If you have doors with keyed deadbolts, leave a key somewhere so the inspector can test those deadbolts and verify that they are working. Do you have crank out windows? Is there a handle? Sometimes the handles are removed with those. So is there a handle in the house? Keep it near the windows so the inspector can test that. Is the service door to the garage accessible? Make sure that it can be opened and closed. There's nothing in front of it. You might even consider leaving a note to the inspector. Communication is key. That's a theme that I'm constantly hammering on. Communication is key. Are there any pets or other issues that the inspector needs to be aware of while they're a guest in your home? Don't leave your pets in a free area while the home inspection is being done. Best to remove them from the home if you can. If not, try to keep them contained into a safe area for both the pet and the inspector. Are there any items that are hard to find? For example, the GFCI resets. Are those difficult to find? In my house and my parents' house, their lake house, it's a funny thing, but the GFCI resets in one bathroom actually reset for both bathrooms. We both found that to be true in our home. So maybe communicate that to an inspector. How old are the shingles? Let the inspector know so they don't have to guess. Did you take the screens out of your windows? I don't keep the screen in my storm door. I have that stored somewhere else. So maybe let the inspector know if you take your window screens off where those are located so that they can see that. And if you've had any kind of past problems, if there are any kind of water spots, for example, and you've corrected the water intrusion but maybe haven't taken care of that particular spot, didn't replace that drywall or paint over that spot, let the inspector know of any past problems that have happened and what you did to correct those. And particularly with FHA home buyers, we need to know the distances of the well and septic in regards to the location of the home or one another, the well and septic systems, or the property lines. So make sure you get those distances and you have those communicated in the date that was last pumped on that septic system. It is best for you to leave the house. The future homeowner, they're paying for a service and they want to be able to communicate openly and freely. Not every home buyer is going to be there with their home inspector, but particularly in the cases where the home buyers are going to be there on site, we want to make sure that the home buyers are able to freely ask any questions they can of the home inspector. And I know it's emotional for some sellers, and look, I'm getting ready to put my house on the market. I'm not particularly keen on leaving my house for a 4-hour home inspection and trying to find out where me and my dog are going to go for that 4 hours. I get it, but it is emotional and it's difficult to leave your home behind and in the care of other people, but it really is best as a home seller if you're not present while people are poking around your home, so to speak. When you get back, though, make sure to double check that things are back as you left them. Everything is in its place. Check the thermostat. Do you need to turn the setting back on? Make sure your range is turned off. Have the GFCI outlets been reset? Are all of the doors and windows locked? Just double check and make sure that everything is as you left it. So those are the words of wisdom to sellers from Trent Paino at Heartland Housemaster. If you are a home buyer and you want to use him for your home inspection, his telephone number is 317-209-9100, 317-209-9100. If you want to check out his website, it's heartland.housemaster.com.
Now the legalese required to appease attorneys, compliance officers, and regulators. This podcast is hosted by Jennifer Goldsby, NMLS number 591226, Vice President, Renovation Lending. The topics discussed herein reflect my personal opinion. They do not represent the opinions of Diamond Residential Mortgage Corporation and its management. Discussions about loan programs in this podcast are not a commitment to make a loan. Programs, approvals, rates, fees, and loan terms are subject to loan applications, credit risk, appraisal evaluation, underwriting guidelines, and other lending or qualification criteria and limitations, and are subject to change without notice. Not all products are available in all states. Not all borrowers will qualify. Diamond Residential Mortgage Corporation, 582 Oakwood Avenue, Lake Forest, Illinois, 60045 847-244 9301. NMLS number 1 86805. For licensing information, go to nmlsconsumeraccess.org/entity-details.aspx/company/186805. Equal housing opportunity. Diamond Residential Mortgage Corporation is not affiliated with or acting on behalf of or at the direction of FHA, VA, USDA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, or any governmental body or agency.